And we're back. Today, joining us is a remarkable individual, an exceptional storyteller, multiple award-winning filmmaker, a preacher of the gospel of Africa. I call it the Diopa of African storytelling. Please welcome my brother, my friend, David Akwara.
Thank you.
All right, David, welcome to the show. We're really great. It's great to have you here. So we're just going to dive right in. We're just going to go straight in. So can you share with us your journey into filmmaking? Or let's start with, first of all, what you do, who you are. Let's hear it from your own mouth.
I mean, you said it. I'm a filmmaker, but I'm a bit different because I focus on telling stories around development. So I like to say I'm a storyteller that wants to use storytelling to create impact. So yeah, that's my niche.
Well, that's good. So how did you venture into storytelling or into filmmaking generally? What's that journey been like for you?
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. Apparently, I wanted to be a lawyer.
When you said you start from the beginning, I thought we were going to say the beginning.
I wanted to be a lawyer when I was in secondary school, and at that time, I didn't have good command of English, so I needed to go somewhere that would teach me how to speak properly. So I went to a drama house, that's what they call it, a drama society. So I was there. When I reached there, I realized I can do much more. So as a filmmaker, I'll be able to tell stories around health, around infrastructure development, around love, every aspect of life.
Yeah.
I can tell that story. And really, the reason why I wanted to be a lawyer was because I wanted to advocate. I wanted to be the Ghanify me of my time. So I saw filmmaking or storytelling as that medium that would allow me to achieve the same purpose. That's how I moved out from being a lawyer to film. And so and from there on, because of the central goal, that's what I tell people a lot, because of the initial motive, right, that is, we want to advocate for people, we want to speak on people's behalf. That's what has led me from making movies to start doing documentaries, and now having a niche for myself that I want to start telling stories around development. So that's really how my journey has been in the last few years.
So did you actually study law? Did you study law, or that was the choice you made for secondary school? Or?
And I was close. I wanted to study diploma at the time.
Okay. So what did you study in school?
Studied film. There's a school in Nigeria where I studied film and TV production.
Okay.
And then I went to Ghana. That's where I studied film proper. So I studied film and TV directing. So that was the first time I was, and this is not to diss Nigeria, but that was the first time I was studying film, and I saw the equipment myself. I'm able to use them, after you do theory class, they give you the camera to do what you have learned. So that's where I interfaced with storytelling.
Okay, and how early was this? Was this, you might not want to state the exact age.
I say that because I try to use that as a encouragement. I think I was 17 then.
Okay, so you started really early.
Yes.
Okay, that's actually really good. So you knew right from time that was what you wanted to do. Or it was more, or did it start out as a hobby and then eventually became a profession? Would you still call it a profession or a hobby now?
No, I think I'll call it a life. So as a child, I've always wanted to be, not really be different, but I've always wanted to add my voice to conversation.
Okay.
So for people who knew me where I was coming from, Kolo, right? I have to mention that anybody from Kolo.
Is that a place in Nigeria?
It's a place in Warri, actually.
Okay.
It's a place in Warri, Delta State. Where I was growing up, I was involved doing art, I was involved doing mechanical work, electronics repairing. So I've always liked to be active, let me put my hand in something. So I think all of these things from my childhood put together, it made me see life as you have to be a contributor.
Okay, true.
So that's my perspective to everything. So I see what I do now as life. Because really, if I don't contribute, within the essence of staying alive. So yeah, that's my philosophy.
So what were your earliest influences? I mean, you said you wanted to be like, sorry, what's the name you mentioned? Of your time. You said you wanted to be like someone of your time. When you, earlier, you said you wanted to be like, I think Kanye something?
5 years.
Kanye 5. Yeah, so would you say he played a big role in your decision?
I won't say that exactly. I think first it was my father.
Okay.
That was a major influence because my father was a traveler at the time. So when he comes from the different countries that he has been to as an auctioneer, he shares stories. And underneath all the stories that he shared, I was very interested in the impact side of the story. So that's what I started noticing who was Gani Fayemi. So if I didn't have that foundation from my father who was sharing stories, I'm sure I wouldn't have even noticed that there was any man. If I can see him, if I can read his work, I would take it personal. So the influence started from my father and then to the other people I now met after that time.
Okay, that's good. How would you describe how the message of Africa is received? Starting with the message of Nigeria, how it is received to other African countries, and then how the story of Africa as a collective is received outside the continent.
And this is a very phenomenal question. You know why? Because I had this conversation with my friend in Kenya yesterday about being in Nigeria, right? I said to him, and I'll say that I said the exact word here. You will hear that a Nigerian is being appointed to a high office in the US, but that will not go viral. But you hear that somebody from one part of Nigeria scammed somebody in the US, and that will go viral. So the first, I'll start with Nigeria. The message of Nigeria that is outside Nigeria, it doesn't tell the authentic story of who we are. Okay. We are over 250 million people, and if 10% of that population are doing things wrongly, I think it's unfair to judge everybody as we are all the same. Everybody in this room, I can be very certain. There are people who are trying to be better people.
Yeah.
And they are putting in work, and that's why this podcast is happening. So if these stories are not shared with the world, people will think that the average Nigerian guy is a fraudster or is a terrorist or is a dangerous species. So I think the stories about Nigeria and outside Nigeria has not been good. And I will give practical example. So because of the work that I do, I travel a lot within the continent. So I see firsthand how I'm being received. So when I say I'm a Nigerian, you see the repelling factor.
You step back.
But I'm a Nigerian, I don't keep person. And you know, when you not see the impact of the work that you are doing, the question will not be, are you sure you're a Nigerian? My next response would be, how should a Nigerian be? Don't you think that Nigerians, especially where I'm from Warri, so when I say that I'm a Warri boy, it makes the conversation more technical. Why would a Warri boy be involved in conversation around continental economic development?
Yeah.
But bro, we're not all comedians. You understand? We're not all comedians. Yes, comedy is in our gym, but that's not who we are. So back to what you were talking about. So the message from Nigeria, out of Nigeria, it's not good. And I think that you guys who are in media, when I say you guys because you are hosting media, you guys are in media, I think that you're not propelling the message of Nigeria well. And that rub off of how Africa is being received. If the most populous black nation in the world is not sold out rightly, how would a country like Eswatini, that is not up to the population of Lagos, Nigeria, how would they receive them?
Sure.
So yeah,
similar to what you said about the narrative that is being sold. I remember I watched, I think it was a TikTok video where someone said there are in the US, I think in this year alone, between January and March, there are over 3,000 school shootings in the US, but we don't know about that. but the little robbery that happened,
You so we say
it's a big deal, and Nigeria.
See, I don't like give you. I'm in my 30s. For these 30 years of my life, I never see any close person I know they kidnap.
Well.
That's my narrative.
True. Yes, that's your
my narrative. I have not seen armed robbery. I never experienced that. And I think that I'm not the only one.
Sure.
See, they break down my house. So I would feel unjust when people start sharing narrative that Nigeria is not safe. And I'll never be victim of any sort of attack. I've never been arrested. I've never even go police station go pay anybody. And this is 3 decades, brother. So when people say that, oh, this thing, I've even done the research of the most corrupt, not even corrupt, I mean where fraudsters are doing research. Just go and check out the list of countries that has the highest form of fraud. We don't did the top. But the media made it look like now we lead the whole thing. And we never feel scratches of it. And it's not to encourage crime.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we have to rechange that narrative because really, we get brilliant mind. I'll give one very personal experience. I was not supposed to do this podcast because I was meant to be in South Africa. Now, I am co-hosting an event with my partners. Everybody don't in South Africa. Everybody work for me. When they under my line, they don't get visa, they don't in South Africa. Me nothing gets. And I do something phenomenal, like something extraordinary. And my passport will be first timer. So when you look at the stuff that I have had, naturally it will earn you visa. But I just submitted the passport since 29th of September. And I'm going to an African country.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll definitely talk about later on.
So it's again narrative. So if Nigerians, and it's a big work on us, if we don't do something about this image thing, do you know what's going on in Rwanda? What's the image of Rwanda that you have? Visit Rwanda. I'm not saying that shady things happen, but I'm just so sure that it's not all good.
So I have someone said something, right? And I think it's a big one to what the EU does, whereby especially the Schengen area, if you live in one Schengen area, you can move freely between all the other Schengen areas. And because of that, and they do a lot of cross studies. So where people in Belgium can go to Germany and study for a whole year. And because of that, a lot of people tend to have an idea of what is going on in other countries and have a sense of what their own culture. But if you ask me now, right, the only thing I know about Ghana is that, their Ghana jollof is, okay, someone's good. I've never had it, so I can't put that to a fact that it's good or not. Right?
You don't have Ghana jollof?
No, I'm not.
That's a shame.
Very good.
And the funny thing is, we are the two Anglophone countries that are close. The other 2 countries that are in between us are Francophones. So if 2 English countries don't live within French countries, never eat each other food.
Well, true.
And it's sad. I'm not trying to shame you, I'm just trying to say, man.
Yeah, no,
it's sad because we have not been able to integrate, even as West Africans. We're not even talking about, we should integrate with ACA, it's called East African Community.
Yeah.
We're not talking about SADC, Southern African Community. Within East Africa, ECOWAS. We never feel go. How many of us don't go Mali?
No.
Burkina Faso, Liberia. So, if I this thing they pay me because we know we all the same people at the end of it. So I don't know why there's this border in our minds. Because I don't see the physical border, I see the borders of our mind. Because as you did so, you don't think of go do short course for Liberia. And you laugh.
My mama allowed me.
You know, and there could be something good. I'm not sure you've looked up Liberia, check. I mean, I'm a filmmaker, so, and I know that people who are creating this thing, some of them are filmmakers as well. I'm not sure they have been to Ouagadougou.
Where's that?
It's in Burkina Faso. Okay. And that's where they host from Sparkle. That's like the biggest film festival on the continent. It's hosted in Ouagadougou. Some of them even hear that name before.
No, definitely my first time.
So and it's in West Africa. So again, like you were just saying that I had to button. That you're talking about the movement between from Belgium and that's what we should have been doing. That okay, you can move from here to Sierra Leone to know what's going on in Sierra Leone. So that I know it will be like in our imagination. To see how we can have cultural exchange. That's why if you look at your WhatsApp now, if you look at your WhatsApp stories, it's all the people that you've known all your life, maybe the new country that you are now in.
Yeah.
You don't have Joseph, Ethiopia. You don't have Margaret, Burkina Faso or Tanzania. Because you don't have these people in your life. And I think that it should be a conscious effort for every African, and especially Nigerian in particular, to make it a duty to travel Africa. That's the only point you can meet with humanity. You don't really know who you be until you see your fellow brother when they look like you.
I should state this. I met David, I think, in 2021 or 2020. Yeah, I think 2021. Yes, and since then, after having a lot of conversations with him, I made it a personal goal to actually travel Africa. I've started with Morocco. I started with Morocco. That was more of just a fun trip, right? But yeah, I do hope to travel. I want to see Cairo as well.
So
I want to start with the very popular.
Pose my question to you. So how do you feel when you did Morocco? When you see what they don't do, how did you feel as an African?
I mean, to a very large extent, I was very impressed. First of all, the Moroccans very friendly people, very amazing people, right? And I was particularly impressed with the infrastructure that they had in place, right? In that, a lot of my cards were working there. My international cards were all working there. I'm not sure how my international cards would work as seamlessly. I mean, I could go to any ATM and I would withdraw
their currency.
Yeah, their currency, and they would just debit me in pounds, and it was a very smooth and seamless experience, really. But I want to say maybe because they are closely knitted to Spain and Portugal, so they have a lot of Western influence over them. But I mean, I think Nigeria still has one of the most, I want to say Western influence on our culture.
So about Morocco, like that you were mentioning about how things work, how many times have the average Nigerian seen that part of Morocco?
Definitely not a lot. I don't think Morocco is a destination country for a lot of Nigerians. Yeah. And it's a really beautiful place.
When I think, and I don't want to just narrow into Nigeria, how many people in Mali or in Niger see a brother? We have 55 countries in the continent of Africa. Among these 55 countries, we don't even know each other.
Sure.
Because we don't visit. I was telling somebody that the local government chairman of my place or the councillor of my place, when his idea of abroad is outside the continent. Abroad is not South Africa. It's not Malawi. Abroad is the UK. And when you go to the UK, and please help me understand because you live there. Is it that they feel like it's not human beings that built what they have?
So you know the funny thing about that. So I've always been infatuated with UK, particularly London. You know, also say I'm a Chelsea fan. You know, and stuff like that. And when I go to the UK, when I just got there and I saw everything, I'm like, so this is all there is. And funny enough, if you ask many Nigerians living in the UK, they will tell you that if not for, say, security and how the government they rule Nigeria, say, before like the Nigeria, a lot of people want to come back.
It is a testimony.
A lot of people want to come back.
It's a testimony. The leadership deficit is just so sad. But again, I think I like what Rwanda is doing.
Okay.
Yeah. Is for them to even have a charter that says all African can come into their country without visa fee, without visa application. I think that's a good one. Yeah. So that fear of, if you leave your borders open, people will flock you, you can't have control over it. I think we should go and learn from Rwanda. And look at how Rwanda is selling Africa.
Yeah, they're
So now when you look at, anytime you buy an Arsenal JC, you see Visit Rwanda. You want to go what is Rwanda and where Rwanda is. Every time you buy the training JC of PSG, you would see Visit Rwanda. So imagine some of the biggest stars in the world, Messi for example, has won a JC where it wrote Visit Rwanda. I think if we have more countries like this selling themselves, like I said earlier, Rwanda also has their weakness.
Sure.
They're not all happy the way, but again, it is selling strength as against weakness. So I am hoping that this new administration that has come in we would now have a Nigerian dream.
So let's retrace back to what we're originally talking about, right? And how what we said, how are people receiving the message? Right now, we've talked about how people are receiving the message of Nigeria in Africa. And so now I want you to shed more light on how people are receiving the message of Africa to the rest of the world. Right? But before then, right, you mentioned how even within Africa, when you as a Nigerian go to certain countries and they say, and they tell you, and you tell them that you're Nigerian, there's this laid back feeling from them. Now, is this, I want to play the race card here now. So is this very prominent even in black countries, or and what is the difference between black African countries, how they receive you, and how the I want to say the Moroccans, the Algerians, who are not particularly black colored skin.
They are black.
Well, yes, we're all blacks, right? But in terms of, I know a lot of them tend to argue that they're not really black because of how their hair grows and the color of their skin, right? So how is there a difference in how they receive our message?
I don't think there's any difference. So the fundamental problem that I've noticed is that from a good book, when you love yourself, you need to love other people. You know? And I'll just oppose that with people like strangers that are doing well. So there is a love that we give out to strangers that are doing well. And this doing well, it's relative. You know, like you mentioned that the shooting going on in America, it is not documented, you can't see it.
Sure.
People don't know that it is risky to live in some part of America. But if an American person comes to welcome you with two hands. So we know how to love people that we perceive are doing well. And then we don't know how to love ourselves. Because really, why would somebody from Botswana see another person from Kenya or from Uganda and treat him differently? I think for when this topic about love, or so when talking about how we're being received, I think that we don't have love for ourselves. But if I truly love myself, I'll be able to give love. So in some stead, I try to forgive our brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you lack love. Because if you really love yourself, bro, it's easy to see things from the other person's perspective. Because at the end of the day, we should realize that we will not be able to move the needle if we work alone. You mentioned something about the EU. See, the EU is a model example of integration. How you can't even know if this product was originally produced in Germany.
Yeah.
Or produced in.
It's just in the EU, produced in the EU. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. And so what now happens is that a manufacturing company in the EU, in EU member states, Germany for example, can move goods to Italy. Italian can move goods. So they are making money and they are growing as a block. And that's why when there's crisis around the world, as a block, they can contribute money. Come back home in Africa. Even within the economic community that we have created, and the idea for creating those economic communities that our goods to be able to move within that community. It doesn't happen. So now, when there's crisis now in the world, we can't see as Africans who are donating $10 billion from.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't see all these things that we are not doing as a collective. Because if we see these things that we're not doing as a collective, and as a collective, it says that we're not contributing to global conversation economically. We are always there for AIDS. We will never be respected. So if an African, whether you are a Zimbabwean, if you are listening to me, the only reason why you will be respected is when we work as a unit. Not, as a collective rather, not as a single unit. We need to come together as one people and push an agenda. And that will bring me to the African Continental Free Trade Area. That's one of the most important projects that I've done in my life. Because it's an opportunity for what I'm wearing. To add money to the pocket of whoever has produced it. Because this shirt that you're wearing, if it's not made on the continent, if the value is not added on the continent, you are putting money in another man's economy.
Yeah.
So the AFCFTA is here to make sure that everything that we're using in this house, in this setup, was manufactured here on the continent. So the raw material that we need to make this leather, it was gotten from Kano. The value addition was done in Ghana, and now it's sold to the entire continent. So that's for me, it's the most important thing that the African continent has done.
Yeah, but I mean, are there not still restrictions, particularly with the currency differences? So, for example, I want to believe trade is easier in EU because they use one currency. There are only a few states like Poland, Russia, who have their own currency, but the euro is still accepted. So, but in Africa, in Ghana, I can't use my Nigerian naira. So do you think that affects trade within the African state? And I know there are rumors about the African dollar. So what do you have to say for that?
So I think that we're missing we are missing the growth. That they say we're jumping the gun.
Okay.
See, the primary thing is that first we have decided that we want to trade with ourselves. There's something called the Pan-African Payment System, PAPS. The idea is that every central bank of every country will be integrated into that system. So once you are in Ghana, you'll be able to do real life conversion and make payments. Because where the world is right now, I don't know, maybe because you're outside the continent. But in Nigeria, I can count how many times I've done paper payment of monies. It has always been on transfer and cards, and I think that's where the world is going. The AFCFTA, I've also seen this blind side. I don't think that this is the time for advocating for a one currency. The advocacy should be, how do we get easy payments? So if I have my mobile app and I'm in Tanzania, I'm able to make payments because my central bank is integrated into a central system. I think that's what we should be looking at. And for the Pan-African payment system to have been established, I think that's a win. Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, I think like 7 countries I know are already members of the central system. So I think that more countries should embrace it so that when I come into your country, all I have to do is to have the PAPS app and I'm able to do transactions. So really I think the advocacy should not be for a single currency because that would be a problem. See, make us stay the way we be. But make us understand that we need to do business. What are the easiest way to do business without changing our currency? And in my opinion, I think online payments, bro, we know about Flutterwave.
Yeah.
If Flutterwave can make payments to somebody who is in Tanzania, why do they need to change
the currency?
See any so while leapfrogging. The reason why EU had to do that at the time was because there was no technology. Right? The market has been there for over 70 years. So I'm sure in the EU, wire phone transfer is very prominent.
Yeah, I literally hardly ever use my cards or everything is on my phone. I tap to pay basically.
Exactly.
Tap the phone
So I would come to Tanzania. Like I was in Kenyatta Airport in Kenya, and I wanted to buy something. My card no work, and they see the fee as only dollar or their currency. Nigerian currency no work. I felt bad because I could just even, because I had money in my Nigerian account.
Yeah.
I could just pay for this water. I couldn't pay. The girl had to give me the water for free. Because I told her, say, I'm going to die here if I don't get the water. So give me the water because I get money, but I can't extract it. So I think that that's another work for the tech companies in Africa. How do we make solutions that are for Africans? But I think that most of the things that we do, we are doing it for another person.
Yeah, but then don't you think? I mean, I feel like a lot of fintechs, right, come with the right mindset, but then the individual financial restrictions of each country puts a lot of strain on their business model and restricts what they can achieve.
That is allowed. I
mean, I think.
But you have practical example of such so that we can.
I would say, what's Providus Bank? Yeah, I think it was Providus Bank. Emefiele. I think the first time he came out and then he banned. I think it was crypto he banned. I can't really remember what he banned. Now, Providus Bank originally existed as any fintech that was doing virtual cards, virtual wallets. Literally anything crypto, whatever, was Providus Bank was their provider.
Oh, wow.
And then Emefiele made that pronouncement, and I just imagined what that was like for the CEO of Providus Bank to just wake up from his sleep one evening, from his nap one evening, and just see that all the partners pulled out from them as their provider. Just because of a pronouncement, a policy that was made. And of course, that's a practical example of how the policies of each country can affect. Another example, so I applied for a job in a fintech in the UK, and they work on borderless payments, right? That's what everybody says, they're working on borderless payments, right? Even though there are a lot of borders around what they're doing, right? And then I was going through the list of African countries that they were working on, because one thing they want to specialize in is helping African students pay their school fees and things like that, which is good. And then I noticed there was no Nigerian naira. And then I just asked that, during the interview, I said, I was going through your website and I noticed that there was no Nigerian naira. And she said, yes, we're really sorry about that, but the Nigerian government has made it very difficult for us to operate in the country, and that's why we decided to pull out all investments in Nigeria. And that is, I think, the most practical example I can give. But yeah, let's get back to you, and now let's talk about your movies. Right, I want to understand. So you do documentaries now, right? And that comes with a lot of facts. So, and with documentaries, it's more whatever you say, whatever I watch and I've seen you say, I take it as fact. So what's the process like? What are the steps you take in ensuring that every fact, everything said is true?
And I have to say this. The truth is relative. I think that when you watch my documentaries, you should be looking at it from context and perspective. So I can't tell you here, seated that everything everybody sees in my documentary is true. But we have a central message. And that's what our real focus is on. So if we're talking about single payments, we want to deal with the issues. So as long as whatever you are going to tell us aligns with the truth that we're pushing at, it's fine. So we're very particular about subjects. And of course, we have done our home research, so we know what fits in and what doesn't fit in. So our process is it's a two-way thing. We do our research and we wait for you to give us the feedback, because really, for documentaries, the interviewees are the one who leads the conversation. At best, what we try to do is to prompt them to bring out certain information that will aid our story. So our story is key for us. The narrative that we want to push out is key for us. Now, one of the stories that I care about is free movement of people.
Yeah.
And because I have been restricted from moving to a particular country that I'm supposed to be in now, you are sure that when I want to tell that story,
Yeah.
it will be different because it's experiential. So I want to speak with the immigration people. I want to speak with the head of commissions, high commissions. I'm pushing questions and find out how do they differentiate people who are coming there to illegal migrate and people who are there to add values. So these are the subjects like this are what drives us. And because we have had practical experience, we think that we should be true to everything that we're saying. So we appreciate experiences that we have gone through. So that when we put forward our questions, we're not talking from imagination. We have practical example of we are not able to move from point A to point B because of this. So how are we addressing it? So if you like the worst, the world will come after you. You said that this is the way you guys are doing it. So we are pushing the responsibility to the authorities who are supposed to give us the right answer. So that's how we work this out. I hope I'm not confusing you. Because I'm very
sorry. So your documentaries, would you say you're making them for Africa or you're making them for the world?
That's a very tricky question.
And a follow-up question to that would be
make an answer if I'm making it for Africa and for
the world, yeah.
I think that my story is for humanity, for human beings.
Okay.
Yeah. I was telling my friends that the Rise have had very good screening outside Africa. I will not say more. They've had very good, even Bangladesh. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that country.
Yeah, Bangladesh.
But the screen, when I'm like, these guys, they thought that they should make the Rise a special movie to be seen because they gave it a special mention.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. But my concern really is telling the human story. And my human story with the Rise is that we want to develop economically. So anybody that sees the Rise knows that this is a continent that is fighting for survival.
Yeah.
Because bro, if this agreement is not implemented, the future of the next generation will be at stake. But what that would mean is that everything in this house will be brought out of the continent. And every time things are imported outside the continent of Africa, we are exporting jobs out of the continent. That's the reason why people like you, who is currently studying in the UK, will not think of coming to Nigeria to settle. Because there's really no value addition that you can do here that can earn you money. So this African Continental Free Trade Area is here to address that. So that even if it's not going to happen in my lifetime, the next generation would come into an Africa where they know that they are responsible for the growth of their place.
Yeah.
They know that the wood that they have in their forest, that's what they would use to make chair. We will not have a situation where when you go to workshop, you hardly see your people there. Because when they even make their products, you're not able to buy. Because we are already being polluted, colonized by.
Yeah, but why I asked that question is, and which was the follow-up question, was in terms of how the movie is made, would you say you put more conscious efforts trying to reach out to a specific demographic? So you know how, I want to say, for example, a lot of Nollywood movies, I think there was a movie that recently came out, Black Book. Yes, when I first watched the movie, the first 30 minutes of the movie, I said, the first thing that came to my mind, low budget John Wick. That was the first thing that came to my mind. No offense, great movie, but that was what came to my mind. Because I feel like we have started making movies to mirror the American ones, right? I want to believe, yes, it's getting a lot of viewings from the Western world. Yeah, our movies are now getting a whole lot more viewings because of probably the way we. So, do you take into context a or is there something you do differently because you know this documentary or this movie is going to be seen by several other people in other countries?
So it depends on what you mean by how do they want to view it, right? So for every storyteller has a goal, and for me, telling especially the story about Africa's development is really to rekindle hope,
Okay.
right? So that when you see the project in the UK or when you see the project in Tanzania, you would have a sense of what is going on the continent and your role that you have to play in it. So for us, it's really about the message of Africa that we put together nicely, so that when you watch the video, it will not look so archaic that you would miss the message. But for us, the message is prominent because there is a sense of urgency that if we do not start to take care of ourselves, we will not even have money to be able to buy care. Because what we're not doing now is we're buying care. We're not providing care.
Yeah.
We are constantly. Imagine what happened during the Ukraine. I think it's an ongoing crisis.
Yeah, it's still an ongoing crisis, yes.
We couldn't get grains, and Africa should be exempted from it because 70% of our arable lands are not cultivated, and we have one of the best soils in the world. So in a case where there's crisis, we will be the first to feel the heat. You know, in Africa, we rarely have food banks. In other countries, there's food banks. So if there's crisis, it is easy for you to resolve it. But for Africa, it hits straight. So for us, we are bringing the message that if you're not part of this movement, you will not have a home to call Africa. So I think that's really the context and the perspective that we want the world to see it from. And the movie is really not made for foreigners. Really. And that's gospel truth. Yeah, we appreciate foreigners to look at it, but it is made for us. Yeah. It is self-conscious message so that you that is in the diaspora, you that is in Africa, you know that you have a role to play for this implementation. And then for our friends who are not Africans that believe that they can invest on the continent, come. It's not a bad to have Adidas having a production factory in Nigeria. Or Louis Vuitton. I'm sure you heard stories that our leathers are being exported out of the country and it becomes another big brand that you know.
Yeah.
So how come you cannot set up that factory in Kano? Once you set up that factory in Kano, you are providing job and you are helping unskilled men learn skill. Some people don't know the finishing touch that goes into producing a Louis Vuitton bag. You know why? Because we've not seen the factory before.
Yeah, we have no idea what it is.
So I think that's the perspective of what the rise is about. That see, this knowledge that you have in the UK, please bring it home so that we can start adding value to the enormous raw material that we have on the continent. So really, that's really the perspective. That's what I put in. That's what is in my mind. And I'm glad that people that have watched the West African episode of the film, they say the same thing. They feel the urgency to be part of this very important movement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy you mentioned the right because that's what we're moving to now.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what we're moving to. What motivated that project? I think you've kind of covered that already, but specifically now for the rise, what motivated that project? What were the challenges that you faced, and what's the gospel truth that you were trying to preach in the rise?
Okay, you would help me because that is going to be like 3 hours talk. So for the rise, because I have had the consciousness of being part of solution providers than just being a complainer. I was told by somebody in the UK that gladly called me up and said there's this agreement that is coming up. Or they thought I was in Ghana, so they wanted me to go to the office in Ghana to do some video work for them. So I told them I'm not in Ghana, but I can go. You know, I can get guys said, don't worry. And apparently at that time Nigeria had not ratified the agreement, so we were not eligible to be part of the whole project. So that also excluded me as well, because yes, I'm Nigerian, your country has not ratified. So in December 5th, Nigeria ratified of 2020. The guy called me a day after and said, yo, it's now time for us to start telling stories around Nigerian ratification. So I made an introductory video in partnership with that organization about Nigeria ratifying the agreement. I thought that was going to be the end of it for me. And, God knows, I did that project from my heart because I was excited that this is for the first time we're having 60% of African head of state agreeing to a particular treaty or charter.
Yeah.
They're signing and they're ratifying. And Africa, the biggest economies, Egypt is already there, South Africa is there, Nigeria is there, Kenya is there. I'm like, yo, this is big. So I told that story and that story went viral. So I was not telling myself that, I'll start documenting what is going on in Nigeria, the progress. And then one day I was in my bathroom, my father's bathroom, and I heard a voice that it's time to take you to Africa. So I inquired him, what do you mean by take it to Africa? So he said, you are going to break it into regions. You start with West Africa and then you move it to every region of Africa. And at that time, I don't even have money to buy tickets to go. That's even the part of the challenge, but that's what I'm moving into. I have money to buy tickets. And I have not done a documentary of that scale before. What I do regularly, 30 minutes, a documentary series for the entire continent, that was a big body. But when you have somebody who is sending you on an errand, in my relationship with God, I'm a Christian, by the way. So, for those who do not know, I'm a Christian. And so I know that when the Lord puts something in your heart, He's able to make things happen. So for some weird reason, two of my friends who are outside Africa bought my first ticket. So myself and the team I'm going to meet in different countries, they didn't know how I was going to go back to Nigeria or how I was going to even come to their countries because I have announced that I'm moving from Ghana and coming to Cote d'Ivoire. But I've not gotten Cote d'Ivoire ticket yet. Or I've not even gotten ticket that will take me from the country I'm going to, that's Ghana, back to Nigeria. Yeah. So I entered by faith. Lo and behold, for the first time, I saw that Africans are ready for change. That's why I'm very optimistic about this thing. Because everybody that I went to, every of the interviewees, you will see some who tell you that, what can I do to help you? Some people will say, I'm going to pay for your lunch today. I'm going to pay for your transportation today. And these people are not gaining anything directly. Even the volunteers, they are saying that we're going to volunteer for this project. You don't have to give us anything. I didn't even say having to give them anything. But the heart to do the work was the motivation. And on the journey, we got money to buy tickets to the other country. For Cote d'Ivoire to be very precise, I can't thank my host enough. He said, as long as you're in this country, your feeding and your transportation is on us. For people who have been to Francophone countries where they use safe house, it's expensive. No, you don't blow 100,000 naira. Go year and year. So that's how the guy took us around and we were able to complete that episode. So my message, or the truth I got from that journey is that Africa is ready. We are tired of being fed. We want to feed other people. We are tired of being the people who are looking for aid. We want to provide aid. We see what's going on in Gaza. Some of us, we have the will. We will donate. We see what's going on in Israel. Everywhere that there's chaos, we want to be part of solution providers. So that was the energy I got from everybody I interviewed. And that in itself opened me up to the entire continent, made me see other Africans and see that I'm not on this journey alone. We have a lot of people who are ready to go on this journey. So that's really what has kept us. And I'll be thankful to everybody that has been part of this journey, even yourself. I know the support that you have given me. I would not take it for granted. And that goes to show that you as a person You want Africa to succeed.
Oh yes, definitely.
And I'm sure that our guys in the camera, they also want Africa to succeed. So that's our truth. Sending that message of it is now the time for Africa. Yeah.
So is there a way, I'm curious about this now, this is just me being
No,
curious.
it's fine.
Is there a way you measure the impact of your films on the narrative? So what I mean by that is, can you say, oh, because of the rise, this change has been made, or because of the rise, we've been able to reach, I'm sure you can measure your streams and say, oh, we have X amount of streams. But is there a way to say, oh, as an account of this, because of this change has been made, this is the amount of people we've actually been able to reach mentally, now not just by view, but mentally, this is the amount of people that we've been able to reach. Of course, I'm one of them.
I'm going to start with you. Then. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know.
But sadly, you've not seen the full film yet.
Yeah, I haven't watched the rise yet. But yeah, I've watched the clips from his status. I follow him on social media. I follow his work, so I have an idea of what he is doing, and it is based on that alone has motivated me to want to visit Africa and to want to see Africa better. And I can't actually wait to watch The Rise, and I want to see what that movie, the effect that movie would have on me, you know. So that's what I'm asking exactly. How do you measure that?
So we know, right, that our message is solid, and we have had. I'll give a very close example. So the film was screened in Johannesburg yesterday, and I got new followers on IG, and the conversation was, thank you for that movie. We now believe that we can take charge of our destiny. I have a series of chats like that people could reach. You know, for some people, they will not be able to reach out to me directly.
Yeah.
But because I've seen more than 50 people reach out to me directly and say, David, we saw the rise at this event and we're impressed. We have been motivated to see Africa, because one of our central subjects, right, is that Africa is actually beautiful.
Yeah.
African can trade. Africans should start visiting Africa. So if you that is one of my member of my constituency on WhatsApp can see my WhatsApp story without even seeing the full film and say that it's an opportunity to go to Morocco, I'm going to be there. Because I'm sure that if you see an opportunity to go to Tunisia or to go to Ethiopia, you will be said to say, I'm going.
Yes, next year I actually intend to visit at least 2 African countries.
Great. For some people have made commitment to me that David, next year I have a plan to go to 7 countries. So these are the real life evaluation. And then the other part of the evaluation is the kind of reception that I have gotten. The UNDP, United Nations Development Program, they've invited me severally to speak in their platforms. The United Nations Economic for Africa, UNECA, they've invited me. The UN, as a body, they've invited me. I was telling somebody that I've traveled more doing the rise than doing any other thing in my life. I know that doing the rise affected my commercial filmmaking activities, but the rooms that the rise has brought me into, it cannot be measured.
Yeah.
The AU have invited me, AU different agencies have invited me to speak on the rise. And it's because of the impact of that project. That's the reason why I'm being given platforms. So we know, because they say that in the matter of 2 or 3 people, something is established.
Yeah.
The truth is established. If we have had over 50 people commenting and saying that we were inspired by this project, I have people who are not even Africans, who are Americans, who send me prayers that, I was just led to pray for you, David, that this project that you are doing will succeed. Even when I was denied visas, I got people sending me prayers. It means that the work is important. So that's really how we measure progress. And I know that people who are going to listen to this podcast, because they heard me talk about my African journey, they would want to visit.
Yeah.
Because it's really truly a disservice for you not to test Shima. Shima is the name of a food. It's in Zambia. It's their stable food. My host in Zambia in August was telling me that they can't wait to come to Nigeria to also test our pounded yam, to test our jollof rice that they hear on the internet.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that for everywhere I go to and I talk about the rise, people begin to get interest of traveling. So yeah, that's really how we measure our success. So yeah, I can speak for the 50 plus people that have messaged me and say, "Yo, David, please don't give up on this. The rest thing that you're doing is actually changing narrative." And I hope it's been amplified by the Spirit of God.
But I mean, I know you're working on the Rise Southern Africa.
Yes.
Right. The one you did was the Rise Western Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So aside that, are there any other projects that you're working on? And aside, again, what I want to ask is, what learnings did you get from the West African edition that you're going to put forward to the Southern edition to even make it better?
Okay, so for some of the I learned during West Africa was that passion is not enough. Passion is good. Passion is not enough. So the West Africa episode is more complicated. We have more team members on board. We have a branding guy who's going to be doing branding. We didn't have that for West Africa. So it's a lot of technicalities that we are not putting into consideration, especially even the camera quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we plan to have these on Netflix. So you can't have the kind of camera that we shot on.
Yeah.
You will struggle on Netflix. You will want to pass it. You want to go and watch Black Book. And when you see the right. So the Southern African episode that we're looking at, we want to make sure that we have, for camera specification, we have it correct. We know that we have story already, but we want to improve on technicality. That's the only lesson that I think that we got from that project.
All right. So I'm an aspiring filmmaker.
So
yeah,
I have to bring
I do a lot of.
You have to bring drink and bring cola.
Yeah, I do a lot of writing, although I haven't written in a long time, but I'm beginning to get myself back and get back into writing. Right. What advice would you give to myself and every other aspiring filmmaker out there in terms of not just, like you said, passion is never enough, in terms of actually saying, oh, these are the steps that I need to take. Like you said, you went to film school. So I'm guessing everybody should start at film school.
No, not really.
But yeah, so what are the steps that we can say, okay, this is David Akwara's 7 steps to filmmaking. And based on that, I can judiciously follow that step.
I don't have 7 steps. And what I'm going to say is just a suggestion.
Okay.
And it is drawn out of my personal journey. So I think for you to be a storyteller, for you to be a writer, to work in this space that we're working in, you have to realize that you are feeding other people. That's the first consciousness. You are feeding other people. So what would you feed them with?
That's deep. That's actually very deep.
So there's a very big complaint about how low quality, how poor storytelling our film is in this part of the world. I think that these storytellers are not taking up the responsibility that they are feeding people. So for me, what I would tell every aspiring filmmaker is to realize that you are the one that is mirroring the society. You are the one feeding the society. Feed us well. So the offshoot of feeding would be learn to volunteer. We don't like to volunteer in this part of the world anymore. Volunteer. See, some things are not learned in class. So the great things of life, they are caught.
Yeah.
Just staying around somebody who is doing extraordinary things. I told somebody that documentary was not what I learned in school. It was not part of my curriculum. But I caught it from my film mentor. He didn't sit me down and say, oh, this is how to do documentary. By looking keenly. That's why the book says that if your eyes is single, your body will bring light. Another part says, when you behold him as in a glass, you will be changed. So that's the same thing that works in the creative sector. You have to have something that you can look and catch from. So learning, and that's under volunteering. The other thing is you need to read wide, could be feed people. You need to actually read. If you're not feeling reading, you need to listen to things. If you're not listening to things, you need to stay around and speak to people.
No, please, feel free.
You translate. Call me on WhatsApp, I'll tell you how to translate. So you need to understand that you have people who know more than you. Surround yourself with these people. Because CM, I tell a lot of people, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the best of my breed. I'm just the most strategic. I know the importance of relationship. Shall I meet you? I don't think we discard you. Now I meet you with some other people.
Yeah.
I don't discard some people when I meet you. But we see there. You know why? I see potential in you, and I feel like if I keep this relationship, it can lead to something. And now I'm on your podcast. So that's the practical thing that aspiring filmmakers should do, that there's the power of relationships. Some of the things that I have now, some of the things that I'm achieving now, I wouldn't have been able to achieve them if I was working as a one-man group.
Yeah.
I'm working as a team, so I know how to build relationships. So build relationships, read word, and volunteer. And please choose who you volunteer for. When you volunteer for a crooked person, the crooked things will be rubbed off on you. Very selective. And the ultimate thing to round up this that you have said is know that you are feeding people. And please, don't give us Gary. Please. Yeah, give us Shima, give us Wachi, give us Jollof. I call this thing, you don't know them. You know why? Because you need to travel Africa. Because you know what they call Wachi. Wachi is Ghanaian food, very sweet food.
Now, following up on what you said, do you you said we should have people we look up to. Do you have mentees? Or do you personally take mentees?
My brother, they don't cast mentee and mentor matter. So I have people who look up to me, but I don't know if they see me as their mentor. And I have people that I feed every time with the much knowledge that God has given me. But it's for them to decide if I'm their mentor. But I have a community of young people that every now and then I call and encourage. And you know, these days, like Jay-Z says, all the wisdom that you need from me is in my songs. So people who are following my body of work, if you are on my WhatsApp story, you get it firsthand, because that's where I really dish out a lot of information. So if you are really interested in following up on what I've said on my story, I'll give you a download. So yeah, I have a couple of people that follow me, but I can't call them my mentee. But they can call me their mentor, you know. So I don't have that title.
Okay. Let's look into the future.
Oh.
Let's look into the future. Where do you see David Akwara films going? Where do you see David Akwara himself going? And where do you see his films going?
Yeah. There's one thing I'm going to do in the coming year. You know, to be able to differentiate David Akwara as a human being, as a person seated here, and then the company, David Akwara Films. I don't know if it's my friend who named the company for us that caused this problem. So when you see David Akwara Films, people think that it's films made by David Akwara. And I get that. I hope that in the coming year we would have a COO who would be able to pull me out of the image completely. But where I see myself, you know, going in the future, it's making more projects that would wake the consciousness of whoever sees this. It's getting on interviews and speaking, and the cameraman who is listening to me is taking notes, adding to the work that he's doing. Is, you know, traveling and meeting ordinary people and listening to their stories, so that I will be so big that when you hear me talk to you on a personal level, it will remind you that you don't have to be all proud.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry that burden. That what you have now is actually a gift to the next person. So that now brings me to the spirit of Ubuntu. I think that every African, everybody who is even hearing me now, that you are back here, where I'm watching you, you should go and Google the meaning of Ubuntu. I am David Akwara because you are Augustine. There's no Augustine, there's no David Akwara. There's no Augustine, there's no talk it.
Walk it like I talk it.
There's no work it like I talk it. So it's all knitted together. We're all connected as family. So yeah, that's really my philosophy and how I see my future.
What about the industry, filmmaking industry as a whole? What do you think? Do you think we're heading in the right direction?
I think so. I spoke to a young man now and he said he got into the industry in 2021. And talking to him now, you could see his enthusiasm, he wants to, his dedication, he's looking at cameras. So I think that the future is safe with the new generation of filmmakers that are coming up, who are more conscious. That's why I tell my colleagues at the level that I am now, that we need to make conscious effort in speaking to these young people and giving them a room to grow. You know, because I am a trained filmmaker and I have gotten certain respect in my field, ordinarily I should be the one saying, this light is doing this one. If I do that, I would scare this young man. He will want to doubt himself. You know, so we should be there to say, to be suggestive, not to be imposing on these people that you should look in this direction to help you. It's easier. So there is an important role for intergenerational relationship. Their generation and our generation needs to constantly, and that's the same thing with our generation and previous generation, to keep on coming together. And we would have, Black Book, whether you like it or not, it's one of the best films that has come out of Nigeria.
Yeah, like I said, it's very moving.
Yeah, and the reason why you're saying John Wick is because you don't consume John Wick a lot. Just imagine they watch those things before. It's for the film tree. And also they bust that people head. Sure. And I really pray that our industry go to a point where we have people consuming more of what we make. So that we'll stop this unhealthy comparison with what the budget for John Wick. This is what they make when the guy got borrowed everywhere. To a point where he had completed the film before he got Netflix deal. So in the case of Netflix gave him $1 million or $2 million to go and make the film. He had made the film in 2020. I hope you guys know that.
Yeah.
The film was made in 2020. And now in 2023, he became global #1. It shows you that a lot of work was put into that project. And I respect my dear brother, a first-time film director. Made a film in 2020. So what if the film was released in 2021? Imagine the film for me. With all the, because now we're exposed to the information as of 2023. And you see a film in 2022 do this great. I think these guys should celebrate. I think that these guys should also arm himself with other young filmmakers so that he can transfer this knowledge.
Yeah.
Because me, brother, I want to see my documentary be #1.
Yeah, he's getting there.
I'm very, very hopeful. Very hopeful.
So what do you think about collaborations in the industry?
I think that's my biggest message. I was I like to mention places and situations. I was at the inaugural AFCFT symposium in Zambia, and I was in the panel. I told them that it made no sense that I want to make a film in Zambia and I will bring all the crews from Nigeria to Zambia.
Yeah. And
it also made no sense that I want to have a music collaboration. Because I'm talking about the industry and we're going to put music and everybody together. Okay. I want to have a music collaboration and I'll do it only in Nigeria. It makes no sense. For every time I do a project that is cross-country, both countries benefits, and we are stronger. Let me give you a very quick example that is near home. If we make a film in Zambia and in Nigeria, Zambians who ordinarily would not want to watch the Nigerian film, we know that Nigerian film has gone really well, but you cannot tell me that we have touched all the numbers.
Yeah. Because
a Zambian is in the film, we have the entire country's sentiment. We want to see it. And for every time they stream that film on Netflix or on Amazon or any streaming platform, it gives money to both sides. What about music? Every time Diamond Platinum from Tanzania streams gets collaborates with Davido from Nigeria, both countries benefits, both brands grow. So for us to move the industry to the next level, there is a big anchor on collaboration. And it has to start within. I know that we have a lot of outside African collaboration. We have to look within and say, who is that talent in Malawi?
Yeah.
Who is that talent far Guinea-Bissau that we can work on a project together? Or who is that talent in Togo?
I think the EMVC are doing well. I mean, in the and then the Hennessy Cyphers as well for music, for rappers. I think they are doing well in identifying those people
Exactly.
in different
Exactly. But
countries.
there's very little these organizations will do. Because that's not their arrowhead. The company was not established because they want to be identifying talent. We as creators, I think one of the things that creators who are listening to me now should take home is, how do you have a WhatsApp and everybody on your WhatsApp story is the same people in your country? It doesn't make it's a lot of disservice to you. So go home today, go to your Instagram, go to your Facebook, go and find out creators who are in other countries and add them up and tell them that look at what you do and let them tell you what they do. Let the collaboration. Let's not wait for Hennessy nor wait for AMPC. The real collaboration starts with me and you.
Sure.
So if by the end of 2023 you still do not have a diverse WhatsApp story, that when you can know what I know when it was Zambia independence. You know why? Because I have Zambians who posted it. I know when it is South African independence. I know when something huge happens in Tunisia. Because I have somebody in Tunisia on my WhatsApp. And for the creative sector, I know the struggle that other industries have. Because I have people who are in those industries. And the struggle is still the same. We do not have platform, we do not have visibility. So you as a Nigerian, you are the most visible industry in Africa. Why don't you stretch your hand to another brother to say you are in Lesotho? What do we do together? Do you know what Lesotho looks like? Do you know what Eswatini looks like? I'm even sure you don't even know that it's a king that rules Eswatini. It's not a president.
Oh, wow.
Again, it's because of information. So, my brother, I think that the creators, all of us who are in this industry, need to understand that we are responsible for feeding people. And the more people you collaborate with, the more your ability to feed people grow.
Yeah.
You know that thing that they say that if you lose strength in the days of battle, your strength is small.
Yeah.
And if you are doing everything within Nigeria, your strength is small. Let's open the space up and have more. Like tomorrow, I will see on this your podcast somebody from Tanzania who is just coming to Lagos. Because I'm your guy already, you say, boss, come to my podcast. And give you the Tanzanian perspective. So it makes your podcast, makes everything that you do rich. The reason why I'm talking the way I am talking is because of the plenty experiences that I've had over the years.
Yeah.
So yeah, collaboration is king. And it should start with me and you. And I'll find somebody in Burkina Faso. I know that cool happen for them. Find out what's going on in Ouagadougou. Yeah, I'll find out.
So, well, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the questions. What we have now, so I'm moving into another section of the podcast, and this is just to wrap it up and just to make light. What would you say is your most memorable travel experience? Like this particular trip, I had so much fun, or I learned so much, and what good trip?
I think all my travels.
No, you have to.
I'm not being diplomatic. I think all my travels. There's always something very special to learn when I travel. I think I can't say I have worst trips. Maybe because I'm going with
an open mind.
Yes. I can't. My trip to Uganda was beautiful. Even when I got to the airport and I realized that I had already missed my flight. My flight was 3 a.m. in the morning, and I got to the airport by 2 something, thinking that my flight was 3 p.m. That struggle to enter back from airport to Kenya Airways to change my ticket, it was fun. Let's do this in Nigeria, or is it about my trip to Zambia? I mean, the road network. So for every travel, I think it gets better. So I can't say that this country was the most memorable, because my brother, I want to call you Chinese now. Every country that I go and brother,
you just vibe, you just have
it's
fun.
so sweet. I don't coming home.
So for someone who wants to start traveling in Africa, what country would you say they should go to first?
So it depends on your passport strength.
Okay.
So
That's why Nigerian. So as a
Nigerian, please start traveling to West Africa.
Okay.
And the reason is you may not be able to deal with rejection. Even me, at this level of my travels, the fact that I've not yet been denied my visa out because they're not giving me an information.
Yeah.
My passport is just being held. I don't know why it is delayed. Dealing with that alone, it's even very discouraging. At some point, I was asking myself, do you think that this South Africa is legit? Because I was being delayed. So for somebody who is starting out, and then you want to start going to Botswana, for Lesotho, I had to submit my film school certificate. As well as that, I had to submit it as part of the
requirements.
But guess what? I never get the visa till now. And this conversation has been on since September 24th. This is almost a month. I never get the visa. So for somebody who wants to start traveling, please start going to West Africa. Go to Ghana. Go to Togo. Go to Benin Republic. Go to Liberia. Go to Sierra Leone. Go to Mali. Go to Burkina Faso. Go to Guinea. Go to Guinea-Bissau. Start going to all these countries. Go to Cape Verde. I know that Cape Verde sometimes square, but go to Cape Verde. Go to the countries where you don't need a visa, that you can be stamped at port of entry. So that's what I would advise. So when you now have that, there's a certain courage it gives when you look at the passport and look at the stamps that you have.
Yeah.
When you apply for other countries, it's easier. So the next easy country that I would advise you to go to now would be East Africa. Apply to Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, what do you call this country? Brazzaville, DRC. Apply to those countries, and you get it. Before you start going to North, because Southern Africa and Northern Africa, they are the countries that takes time. Yeah, for
What about budget? Traveling, what do you think is the right amount to have?
Right?
Budget friendly. Let me say budget friendly.
I can't give you a figure because my brother, it's actually quite expensive, pricey traveling. So I don't know your choice. If you want to travel by road, it's a lot cheap. Travel by
Do you prefer road?
I prefer both, honestly. Although I've not done cross-country travel by road for almost 10 years now. But see, anytime my friends tell me that they are going to Ghana by road, I still remember the fried and roasted chicken that I would eat between Togo border and Aflao border of Ghana. It's so sweet. So right now, I'm thinking of a road trip to Ghana.
Just so that you can have that.
It's so sweet. And then you can use any currency. Naira they work for there. Now they our borders naira your currency get value. I ate. So and those times I was young, so I like what I was seeing.
Yeah.
That's why when I travel to an African country, when I'm doing an interstate travel, I don't fly. So I'll go by road. So I think road for me is another option, and I'm hoping that what the African Union is trying to do, connect the entire continent. I will be one of the first people to patronize travel by train across Africa.
Yeah. Rough estimate, how many countries have you been to in Africa?
I have can't, but I've been to quite a lot. The past 10, I'm quite a bit, yeah. I actually not start thinking, start counting numbers. Well, it's more than 15 countries. And for some, I've gone there multiple times.
Yeah. If you were to collaborate with another filmmaker, who would it be?
I think the thing about collaboration is about energy.
Yeah.
I don't have a name. Well, I think my next collaboration would be something that has a sense of togetherness. So what I mean is that a collaboration between a Nigerian and somebody in, I want to call it a country that is not very, who are not very familiar with, Burundi. A collaboration between the Nigerian filmmaker and the Burundi filmmaker.
I was about to ask you, is that in Africa?
South Africa is in East Africa, bro. Burundi is in East Africa. So that kind of collaboration I want to, because people do not know what Burundi looks like from our side.
Yeah.
So that collaboration would open that space, especially for even if it's only for my WhatsApp family alone. They will have an idea of what Burundi looks like. I'm sure that when I was in Zambia, you were looking at my WhatsApp story, you were looking at whatever I was showing you of Zambia, of what you saw, and that would give you a mental image. For some people, they think that Zambia has the best airports. Yeah, they have one of the best anyway, but some people think that Zambia airport is the best because I filmed the entrance into the airport. And it was really beautiful. So that's what that's the kind of collaboration I'm looking at right now. A filmmaker from Burundi. So if you're in Burundi, you're watching me, I'd like to do a collaboration with you, but I've not been to Burundi and I look forward to going there.
Alright, so for the final section, right, we're going to play a game. Right? And the game just came to me.
Okay.
The game just came to me. So, I'm going to list as many African countries as you can.
Okay.
You said there are 55, so let's see how far you can go.
You will not counting.
Yes, I will. I'll be the one counting.
Whew. Nigeria, Ghana, Benin Republic, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Sierra Leone,
Okay.
Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Mali,
So that's 10.
Cameroon, Democratic Republic, Angola, Eswatini, Lesotho, South Africa, Botswana, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Burundi, DRC.
Is DRC different from the Democratic Republic?
Yes,
Okay.
the Democratic Central Republic. Yeah.
Okay.
I said DRC.
Yeah.
DRC, Brazzaville,
Okay.
Tunisia, Egypt, Algeria, Morocco,
It's going region by region, but yes, go on.
Morocco, Eritrea. I don't know, I'm not sure you heard that name before. Which other one? How many am I now?
That's one. Which is wild. You've listed 31 after.
31. That's it. Really?
Yes, that's actually very wild.
Cape Verde.
Okay.
Cape Verde, yeah. East Africa.
Is it 14, 24, 14 or 24?
What?
I'm trying to calculate.
Yeah, Cape Verde.
Okay. That's two.
Gabon.
That's
Tanzania. I don't mention Tanzania.
Yeah, that's four.
I mentioned Malawi.
Yes, you know.
How many were?
Well, yeah, it's 34. Please.
Wow.
That's incredible. 34
That's
of 55 African countries. I mean,
Ethiopia, bro.
okay, 35.
Yeah, the seat of power, Ethiopia. Wow.
Well, that's really good. David, I really want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. So actually, David was on the original list of people to be on the podcast, but then I knew he was not going to be around. And then I hit him up to just, what's going on? How's the shooting going? And he said, I haven't been able to go because of the delay in getting my visa. And I was like, you like come podcast since you're like around, and this was just 2 days ago, and then he's here. So David, thank you. I really appreciate you. You've influenced me in. I've told you quite a number of times. You've shown me the beauty of Africa, and I'm sure everyone watching here would start to do their own little research about Africa, right? And I'm hoping that when they watch this episode, they will see how beautiful Africa is and start to want to make change in Africa. Again, thank you very much. And guys, next time.
Thank you. Gracias. Hi guys, my name is David Akwara and this is my beautiful wife.
Hi.
Akwara. Please like and follow.
Walk it like I talk it.
Say it again.
Walk it like I talk it.
Talking like I talk it. It's walking like I talk it. Peace out.